Good morning, my A are back. Here's the plan. We've missed a couple of days, so there's a lot of catch up to be done. On the build today, half the crew, roughly, will be continuing to work on the outside of the house, whether it's the gazebo, whether it's the pump room, or whether it's the outside bathroom. Lots going on there. 3 more days to try and have it to some kind of a finished status ahead of the little event that we've got coming up. Inside, there has been some more progress, not a lot given that so many people are outside, but I'll show you what there is. And today, it's just more of the same with that outside focus. What could possibly go wrong? So why have we missed a couple of days? Well, documentation, mostly. I am now the proud possessor of a Philippine tax identification number, which you don't have to have unless you are potentially going to have a business or earn money in some way, shape or form. I needed it for banking purposes. I'm also now the proud possessor of a Philippine driving license. Both processes relatively painless. You don't need any fixers or agents to help you through. You do need to be patient. Actually, to be fair, both processes were reasonably fast. The driving license took a little longer than the tax identification number, but in both cases the staff in the offices were very helpful. Just something to bear in mind, something rather odd if you're going for a driving license, and in my case it was converting an overseas license, which costs very little. I think it ended up being $10, maybe a little bit more US. But one thing to bear in mind, it's the only place I've been so far where they insist that if you're a fella, you have to have long trousers. I didn't. So that's when a fixer did help me out. I borrowed a pair of trousers when they could find some big enough. Cost me $1 US. But you have to have long trousers. It's all a bit odd. You may have to do a driving test if you are converting from an environment which has left-hand drive, which as an English fella and a Hong Kong resident, that's what it was, you may have to do a driving test. The driving test took about 1.5 to 2 minutes. It was a case of U-turn, go to that roundabout 100 meters away, go around the roundabout, come back. That was it. You do need various bits of documentation. It is all on the website. The only other issue that you have to have is a medical certificate that you probably will find wherever the issuing authority, the LTO, are located. You will probably find medical clinics very close by. And that was again roughly a $10 fee and took 10 minutes. It is hardly the most rigorous of medical tests, but very pleasant, very polite, very helpful people in both offices. No system of pre-booking in my case was required. I'm not sure that will always be the case, so check before you go. Do make sure you've got all your documentation, but realistically, to go into a place like that and to get a driving license on the same day, and in fact it was really in my case an afternoon, I think that's really pretty efficient. Of course it could be more efficient. Their processes are not always the fastest, but absolutely nothing wrong with the going through that process in either case. I was impressed. So that's really what I've been doing for most of the last couple of days, along with the usual bits of running around being a taxi driver to grandson or other things that need doing, a bit of shopping. So apologies for that. Let's go with a catch-up. We'll start here this morning. Oh my word, has this changed. We have a ceiling. All the hardy flex is in. It's got skim coat over the joins, it's got skim coat where there are screw holes. It's all in. The only bits remaining are down this outside edge, where there's a little bit more to be done over there. Also, before they put that in, all of the electrical connections were put in place. So, the upper edge of this is getting close. The fix on the roof, I remain far from convinced. I'm not sure how it's going to look. They've put some red oxide paint on the outside edge of this end, but we need to see how that looks once the final coat of paint is on there. It is at least kind of even now, the connection between that beam and the vertical part of the roof, but I'm not sure. Anyway, let's have a look at the rest of it. We have roughly half a tiled floor. These tiles, they're slightly rough finish. We don't want anything slippery in here. This has the potential, obviously, because it's open, to get wet. So it's a slightly rough, quite muted pattern on it as well, which I think is right for an area like this. Still, roughly half of it to do. On the columns, we have skim coat. The skim coat, the paint will be everything above 1 metre in height. Everything below that will be tiles, which we don't have yet. The builder's gone off apparently to buy them this morning. So all of the columns will have tiles up to a height of 1 metre. So that's kind of where we are at the moment in here. 3 days left to try and get all of this finished. But we do have at least 10 of the crew working on this at the moment. The tiling around the outside edge of the pool is all done, minus any grout that's going to go in there. So they finished putting the last few tiles over by that bridge. Then they went round and cut the outside edges of all the tiles so that it now matches the contour of the concrete slab. I was worried that having those tiles in place and then cutting them had a risk of damage, but they did a perfect job. There is no damage on any of the tiles all the way around, and it does now look really, I think, pretty good. They didn't do tiles on the vertical edge of that slab, but to be honest, I think it's unnecessary. A lot of that anyway will be covered by backfill, so it's just been plastered over, which I think will be absolutely fine. Once we get grass around here, that'll all be completely okay. And I think this does look now like a really good addition to this pool. Manny is working on catch basin covers, and we just asked for a demonstration, and he's now going to get painted fingers. But there we go. Concrete slab, edges being painted. Oops! Uh-oh. Small accident. Oh, that'll clear up very quickly. But I think that looks rather neat. Good job, Manny. We are getting skim coated and painted surfaces on both the pump room and the outside bathroom. And for the outside bathroom, we'll go and have a closer look. Inside, it's going to be dark, but we'll give it a shot. Inside, at the far end, tiles have gone onto the wall, or I should say walls. I think, I haven't actually been in there, but I think they're all done. And that has come after we've got a concrete slab poured on the floor. Oh, try and say that 3 times fast. So all of this bathroom now has a slab, except just here, where the finish here actually is going to be pebbles, small pebbles, not sharp, not slippery. But this is the actual shower area, which is open to the elements up here. So, shower here. I can't remember if I've mentioned it before. This will be cold water only. They did ask whether we wanted hot a hot water connection as well. That just seemed overkill for an outdoor shower. So a cold water shower, which should be completely fine. But a lot of progress here in the outside bathroom. We also now have a lot more drainage ditches, and in some cases drainage that has been dug, pipes put in and covered over. So this is trying to keep this area around the pool as well drained as possible, because we have seen that here in particular between the house and the pool it can flood. The water does dissipate very quickly, but in heavy rainstorms this will flood, and we don't really want that. This area is going to be predominantly grass. There will be more paving to be done, and I'll show you where that will be in just a moment. But we do need as much drainage here as possible. At the moment, these tiles around the outside edge, you kind of have to climb over the bridge wall if you want to wander around the outside and then get onto the bridge. So what will be added is paving slabs of some sort to go from the bridge across to the ramp, so you can walk from the pool to the house without walking on what could be wet grass. And then there'll have to be something that extends around from the tiles to that pathway. On the back of the pool, something similar. There'll be a pathway going two directions, going right off that bridge towards the pump room and the bathroom, and going left towards the gazebo. All of that still to be done. This is one of the few things to show you inside the house. So on the end of this wall coming from the stairs, we now have a different colour paint. And this is a change that's going to apply throughout a lot of the downstairs area. We looked at white, we looked at cream, and the decision is a very light grey. That will be applied for, I think, most of these walls down here, some of the walls upstairs, not the bedrooms, but the hallways, a lot of it will be this light grey colour. And there's more. Yesterday, there's quite a bit more work done on this area between the upstairs and downstairs in the double height ceiling. So this has now had a coat of paint on it, starting to move towards some kind of completion here. And when that is completed, that will allow the glass guys to come back and focus on getting that glass really above our heads. Skirting boards, baseboards in the bedrooms upstairs, it's all been on hold for a couple of days. All the guys, particularly Richard, are continuing to be focused outdoors, so nothing's happened here. But take a dizzy pill. We have skirting boards in the hallway, corridor. Well, we don't. It's just paint. But they've started to apply paint to appear as though we have skirting boards. Just makes a nice transition from the floor to the wall. So all of it up here will be roughly this colour. It is far from finished. There's only a single coat on there at the moment. But it's just to create some definition in this area. While we're up here, let's have a look from Jack's balcony. So the two buildings, the pump room and the bathroom, starting to get their colour. The tiling around the pool, I think, does make it look really quite different and significantly better in my opinion. And the gazebo, approaching a level of finishing. It's not ideal, we're not completely happy with it, but they're getting close. It's starting to look a little bit more like a finished building. Papa Jess, our electrician, is here in the master bedroom, and he's just highlighted to me that they've started to put in some rather large back boxes on some of these power supply areas. And this is because of the nature of the smart outlets that we've got. I've mentioned before, we've got 2 or 3 different types. and standard Philippine back boxes weren't big enough. So, starting to get these put in. While we're here, the skirting boards. I think we saw Ernie starting to get ready to do some treatment on these, just putting some tape down. He then stopped. They look completely unchanged as far as I can tell. He is one of the crew that's been pulled off of work inside here to now help with the gazebo. So, still waiting for him to come back and make a restart on this. One of the very few people working inside the house at the moment, painter Ernie, still working on the walls here inside the sunroom. So still putting more prime coat on these walls. This is the south side of the house, and over the last couple of days this has been getting quite a lot of attention from a couple of the painters. So we're starting to get rid of the kind of dirty grey white, which is the consequence of having the waterproofing material underneath, which is grey, and then skim coat or undercoat, prime coat on top. Now we're starting to get a cleaner white as they go back over it again with prime coat. This is one of the few remaining large areas that needs a lot more base paint going on it. On the north side of the house, different story. Most of this side now has a nice cleaner white finish to it. There's an exception down at the far end. It's still showing the waterproofing through the first coat, but the rest of it now mostly has a nice clean finish to it.